The other day, while we are discussing the 5 limbs of striving, we touched on how we described Saddha, faith and confidence, both from the theoretical and practical aspects. And we sort of explained about this Saddha, which can happen in human beings, which is necessary for the practice. The reason for talking about Saddha is to give effect, to bring about effective result. If one has no faith, then there will be no zeal or will to undertake the practice. If there's no zeal, then one will not exert energy. If one does not exert energy, then one's practice will not bear fruit as required. Once we have faith, we will come to have zeal and then exert energy intensively, practice intensively, so that we can bring about the desired result in a short time. So, first of all, we need to awaken this Saddha, if not already awakened, and sustain this already awakened Saddha with a practice. So, dealing with Saddha takes a little time. Maybe the yogis get wearied and bored with just listening about Saddha many times, but it is necessary. Shall I exhort you to listen with patience. If one does not have this faith altogether, then one will not have zeal, one will not possess zeal to undertake the practice. If one does not have the zeal, one will not exert to benefit oneself and others. And there will be no benefit for the present and also future. It will be like a person who is fast asleep. A person who is fast asleep will not be able to do anything. If he or she encounters some disaster, natural disaster or human or artificial disaster, like floods, water disaster about floods or about fire, he or she will succumb to it because he or she is fast asleep. He or she will be the first to suffer. So only when one is awake, that means when there is Saddha, will one be able, and also to possess strong Saddha, unshakable faith, will one be able to be free, or when one is fully awake, one will be free from dangers. Then there will be good result, peace and happiness. It is not that the yogis don't possess any Saddha, any faith, or their faith is very weak, but Sayadaw is just giving you examples from his own experience, that you can learn from his experience. How, although he had Saddha in the beginning, his Saddha faded away in the course of the practice for some reasons. Prior to the practice, he had much Saddha, faith and confidence, totally. However, in the course of the practice, when he had come to the realm of the practice, for some reason, especially when he observed sudden misconduct or failure in observing rules of conduct for monks, he became a little doubtful because he was judging others. By judging others, he was entertaining doubts, so that he was not able to practice in peace. From the literature, by learning literature, and also from the teachers, especially the discourses from the late Venerable benefactor Mahasi Sayadaw, he was able to possess faith. However, since he has not practiced fully or realized fully the quality of the Dhamma, when he saw sudden abnormalities in the surrounding, that is during the practice, he started judging others, and by judging others, he became a little doubtful, and he could not find peace in the practice. That's what he experienced by himself as a meditator. So, while the yogis have come from a long distance and practicing meditation, if they also observe something which will instill doubt in them, not being able to have faith, then their time should not be wasted by this judgments and things like that. That's why Sayadaw had to give his example. To be forearmed is to be forewarned. So by warning, by giving this example and reminding you, you will be prepared not to waste in your practice. The Buddha has given this discourse in Samyutta Nikaya, Yekha Samyutta Suttanta, Aloka Suttanta. In that the saddha, faith and confidence, is a valuable wealth, a precious wealth in the world. It is given as an example that the saddha is like the wealth that one can possess. It's like a property. So it's like when you go to a shopping center where you can buy precious materials. But to buy these precious materials, you must have a lot of money. Otherwise, if you have no money to buy, then you will not be able to buy anything, although there are precious material in this shopping center. So too in the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasana is like a big shopping center where the precious materials are on display, ready to be sold in the form of the sublime Dhamma. The precious material is like the sublime Dhamma. So only when you have the wealth of saddha is just like the money or wealth. Only with your possession of saddha will you be able to buy or purchase these precious material in the form of sublime Dhamma from the big shopping center, Buddha Sasana shopping center, in the form of the practice of the three trainings of Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So that by undertaking this practice, the three trainings, you can conduct yourself physically, verbally, mentally in a very good way, so that all your behaviors become cultured, graceful, affable, and pure, blameless. So this is like the sublime Dhamma, buying sublime Dhamma, or getting the sublime Dhamma in exchange with your saddha money. If there's no saddha, and the money and the wealth of saddha, you will not be able to buy this precious material, the Buddha and the Buddha Sasana, the three trainings of sublime Dhamma. So this saddha is like the valuable wealth or money with which you can purchase these precious materials in the Buddha's Sasana shopping center. So the yogis who have come here should need to possess the saddha, so that when they go shopping in the Buddha Sasana shopping center, to choose this precious material in the form of this sublime Dhamma. Only when they have the sada, they have money in the form of sada, will they be able to purchase or acquire this sublime Dhamma, precious material. In the same Samyutta Nikaya Brahmana Sutta, Kasibharadvara Sutta, the Buddha has preached this Dhamma to the Brahmin farmer, that he analogized sada with seed, because since this Brahmin is a farmer, for him he would understand better if he was given this analogy in the form of seed, which concerned his profession. So this is how it was given. The weather conditions, soil conditions are favorable, but only when one possesses seed or seeds will one be able to grow plants and reap the benefits in the form of fruits and so on. If one does not possess sada seed, one will not be able to grow any plant and reap any harvest. So also, we have this sublime Dhamma in the form of the weather conditions, soil conditions, and then yogis are of good age, they are healthy, they have facilities are favorable, and also you are able to approach a spiritual friend, Kalyana Mita, who can help you with teachings and guidance, both from the theoretical and practical aspects, in accordance with the Buddha's exposition. So in all aspects, the facilities are favorable. This is like favorable weather, soil conditions. So in this favorable sasana soil, only those who possess sada seed will be able to grow plants and reap the seeds. Those who do not possess any sada seed will not be able to grow plants, and so will not be able to reap the harvest in the form of fruit and so on. So sada has been given as like the seed, so that this Brahmin farmer can understand better. Furthermore, sada also has been analogized as hatha, hand. Now, when one goes or gets to a place where you have a lot of ruby land, let us say, a land of rubies, only those who possess good hands, if the hands are handicapped, or without hands, or the hands are not capable of picking up, then they will not be able to pick up these precious jewels and possess and use them. So if they are handicapped and they don't possess good hands or broken hands, they will not be able to pick up, possess and use them. So too with the practice of the sublime Dhamma in the Buddha Sasana, which is like the ruby land of rubies, where you can get precious material, like the land of precious material. Those who have the sada hand, sada like the hand, will be able to gain benefit, to practice and make use of the sublime Dhamma in the form of these precious jewels, and gain the benefit, possess these jewels and utilize them. If there's no sada hand, they will not be able to utilize or practice the sublime Dhamma and gain the benefit. Therefore, sada in this case has been likened to a hand. Talking about this ruby, when the ruby is genuine, there are a lot of imitations also. So one has to be very careful. When one sees the real ruby, shining one, much in the form of a T, we call it, this is the measurement of this quality of this ruby. One will be overjoyed, and if one finds this shining one, and if one possesses it, one will become overwhelmed with it, and always be pleasant to possess this, especially for those who prefers ruby. They will just go on looking at it, being very pleased with it. Hence, this expression Ratana is a precious material. It has the property of pleasing the user or the possessor. Now, Buddha Dhamma, the sublime Dhamma, is like the Ratana, precious material, in this case ruby. But this kind of Buddha Dhamma is not from what the book says, or what from hearsay, or from the teachers, or from your conceptual knowledge. Now the practice of Satipatthana, we are receiving these instructions and teachings from spiritual friend Kalyana Mitta. Those who have this faith will have the zeal to listen to this Dhamma. By listening, one becomes a knower. One is said to be uplifted from unknowing to knowing, from person who does not know to the knower. And this is a Sutta Dhamma, the Dhamma by listening, by learning. This is only literary experience, literary knowledge, because the Dhamma has uplifted you from not knowing to knowing. Because first of all, you did not know the correct practice, but after learning, listening, you come to know the correct practice. So you are said to be uplifted in a way, from not knowing to knowing, from one who does not know to one who knows. In this way, Dhamma is said to have upgraded you, sustained you, so that you become a knower. Hence, the Dhamma. The Dhamma has the quality of uplifting in this way, so that you become a knower from the one who does not know. Hence, the expression Dhamma, which is uplifting. And of course, Dhamma has many definitions, but some of the definitions may not be effective. First of all, one has got to learn to know the right method of practice. But even after knowing it, if one does not undertake this practice, one will not be able to gain this Dhamma Ratana, the precious material of the sublime Dhamma. Because one is not be able to utilize this Dhamma Ratana. So it is necessary to undertake the practice. By listening the correct practice from the spiritual friend, Kalyana Mitta, or teacher, spiritual teacher, with faith and confidence. As much as one practices with faith and confidence, one is bound to cultivate one's physical, verbal, mental behaviors so that they become cultured, graceful, gentle, pure, and affable. And then also they will be able to make use of this Dhamma. So first, study or learn the correct method of practice, then undertake the practice. That's the second step. And the third step is you realize gain the benefit. That's the third step. And then the fourth step is to make use of it, to apply this benefit. Then you become a Dhamma practitioner. As much as you undertake the practice of the Dhamma will uplift. The Dhamma will uplift the Dhamma practitioner. It will sustain, it will help, protect, uplift, upgrade the Dhamma practitioner. That is the quality of the Dhamma, not to lower you, not to degrade you, but to uplift you. So these four things again: learning the correct practice, then undertake the practice, gain the benefit, and apply or make use of this benefit. In this way, Dhamma will sustain the Dhamma practitioner. So correct. If one undertakes the practice effectively, especially this 3 trainings in the form of this Satipatthana Bhavana, as much as you undertake that practice, you are bound to gain the benefit in cultivating this physical, verbal, mental behaviors. First of all, you become free from these mental impurities, beginning with craving, aversion and delusion, so that all your behaviors will become pure, blameless, graceful and affable. Like acquiring this precious material, genuine ruby. Whoever gets hold of this ruby or comes into possession of this genuine, precious ruby will be very much delighted and pleased. So too with the practitioner who undertakes the practice, after learning, undertake the practice and realize the benefit and make use of this practice, will be very delighted and pleased with his or her realization. And also, when one finds one's physical, verbal, mental behaviors becoming pure, blameless, graceful, shining, affable, then one realizes that one has been uplifted in one's life with the Dhamma, then one will be extremely pleased and delighted. Hence, the Dhamma has been likened to this Ratana, precious material. more than 25 centuries ago, Buddha himself had practiced and realized the benefit of the practice, came into possession of this Dhamma Ratana, precious material in the form of the sublime Dhamma, and he made use of it by teaching all beings. So first he practiced and he gained the benefit, and he preached what he had discovered in the form of various expositions, discourses, more than 25 centuries ago. Some may however doubt like this: this Dhamma has lasted so long, can it still be alive and valid? And although the Dhamma might have been preached, are these Dhammas still in accordance with the original Dhamma? So they may have some doubts. However, it is like this. Suppose you have not been to certain countries, part of the world, but either if somebody who has been there tells you about this, that he or she has been there and he or she has seen this and that and so on, about his or her experience, or you read a book about that part of the world that you have not been. And depending on the reliability of the writer, you can believe what the writer has said. So in this way, first of all, you have to believe it in the beginning. Then, as much as there are people who won't believe it, but one should believe it, because so long as you are scientific-minded, you are a modern person, and there should not be any doubt about this, because there have been records, photographs, and things like that. So one has to believe that the people have been to the moon, and people are going to other planets. So also with the Dhamma preached by the Buddha, first the Dhamma which he has discovered by himself and has preached, and also there are the teachings given by the Savaka's disciples from their experience and from what they preached. So though we have not come to that stage, to the stage of these the fully enlightened one and the disciples, enlightened disciples, we have to believe, we should believe it, because they are worthy of faith. People who have reached that stage. At this point, we may talk about these three kinds of Sayadaw accomplishments. First of all, we have this Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, accomplishing or fulfilling with direct experience. That is known as Paṇḍitā Sayadaw. Now the second one is Anupana Sayadaw, accomplishment through inferential knowledge. Now the third one, the third Sayadaw accomplishment is neither Paṇḍitā nor Anupana, neither direct experience nor inferential knowledge, but something which is worthy of faith, worthy to be believed, should be believed. Although one cannot see it experientially, one cannot see it directly, one can accomplish this, one can understand this, or one can believe it, if it's worthy of faith. So that is the third step. So now yogis are practicing. As they are able to steady their attention, to connect with the objects to be noted, and as the noted mind is concurrent with the object, they are able to free themselves. Their mind will be free from these impurities, beginning with craving, aversion, raga, dosa. Now that is your experiential direct knowledge, which you experience right away by being able to note the arising object as they arise. This can be Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, direct experience, knowledge through direct experience. And if you cultivate knowledge, gain insight, beginning with the discernment of mind and body and so on, that knowledge also is direct experience, which you can experience by yourself. This is the first kind of accomplishment, Paṇḍitā Sayadaw. So, when you are practicing, now you yourself experience with directly through your own practice, and you can infer logically that as much as you can experience this, other people also will be able to experience this benefit, result of the practice, if they undertake the practice like yourself. So, in this way, you can draw inference logically that other people also, though other people are not practicing, you can draw logically with inference that other people also will be able to realize this kind of benefit. As for the third one, there are things beyond your reach of knowledge, your intelligence. But you have to fall back on the rationality of the incidents. Things which have been accomplished directly, which have been accomplished inferentially. So, the third one, though this is beyond your intelligence, beyond the reach of your intelligence, you can believe it as being possible. Though it is not your own experience, your direct experience, neither Paṇḍitā nor Anupana, but you can believe it as being worthy of belief, as being reasonable. So, just like the moon, the landing of people, human beings on the moon, though one has not been to the moon by oneself, one can believe it because other people have directly experienced it, and also it can also be drawn logically through inference. So therefore, although this is beyond your reach of intelligence, you can believe it because it is worth believing. That is the third kind of accomplishment. Now this Dhamma nature is very subtle, very gentle. There can be many reasons for not gaining insight. That is, one reason is not having had this spiritual perfections, knowledge gained through accumulations of one's merit in the past, parami called parami, or one is weak in saddha and chanda, faith and zeal. Because of that, one cannot gain insight, because one is not fulfilled with the required faith and zeal. Or because one encounter many kinds of danger or disturbances, one cannot gain insight. So this needs to be explained. There are reasons for not being able to gain insight. Besides the above ones reasons, if one has committed the heinous or heavy, serious offences, like killing, having killed one's parents, and so on, there are 5 things, one will not be able to gain insight in this very life. And also this Mecha Deity, having wrong or heretic view, that holding on to this annihilation, view of annihilation, Ucheda Mecha Deity, that there's no such thing as good deeds leading to good benefits, no such thing as bad deeds leading to bad benefits, bad results. When one dies, that is the end of it, there's no more. So this kind of belief, the totally cutting off, after this life. So if one holds on to this, one can even become what is known as Niyata Mecha Deity, fixed wrong view. And if one holds such views, then one will not be able to realize, to gain insight, or even practice. Furthermore, as we have discussed at some point, at the time of birth or conception, when spermatozoa and ovary combine, unite, to form an embryo, one comes into possession of knowledge known as rebirth consciousness. It is Sandhi Chaita. So, if one's rebirth consciousness is not accompanied with knowledge, then also one will not be able to gain insight in this very life. And there are these precepts, training precepts, that one has to sustain and practice. As for the monks, there are these Sikkhapadas, the rule of conduct for monks. If they break, purposely transgress or trespass these training rules, training precepts. And also as for the ordinary lay people, they have these 5 precepts to sustain, training precept, to observe, and if they transgress these training precepts, break them, then this become very harmful, so that such people will not be able to gain insight in this very life. And there are these offences committed against these noble ones, Ariyas, accusing them, and so on. This is harmful, and so long as they are not able to apologize, to be excused from this offense to the noble ones whom they have harmed, they will not be able to gain insight in this very life. So there are people who cannot gain insight because they have done such harms. However, in most cases it is due to the weakening, due to weak saddha and chanda, this faith and zeal, that people are not able to cultivate concentration and insight. So such people are only very few in numbers, maybe 1 or 2%. So it is necessary to possess real saddha, faith and zeal. Possessing these 2 qualities, And if one practices meticulously in accordance with the instructions, then one is bound to be able to sustain mindfulness and giving rise to this constant level of concentration and cultivate knowledge through different stages of insight knowledge and gain insight in an extraordinary manner. So, for that purpose, you should rejoice. So, if in this way, with weak saddha and chanda, faith and zeal, if one practice is slack and not be able to realize concentration and knowledge, and then in the beginning, the saddha is faith is one has very weak faith, not very strong in the beginning, and for some reasons in the course of the practice, this weak saddha from the beginning may tend to fade away and then disappear altogether in the course of the practice. So such people, in the according to the teachers, in the opinion of the teachers, it is better that they don't start the practice from the beginning. So if at all they start the practice in the retreat, they should be able to compare with the rest of the people, or rest of the yogis, and say to themselves like this: "Oh, other people are practicing. Why not I? I should be able to do it. Why shouldn't I?" So in this way, one should be able to awaken one's faith and zeal to undertake the practice and undertake it fully, intensively. Then one is bound to gain benefit in one's own right. So for this, towards this end, the teachers have been giving you these discourses in order to develop, sustain, cultivate your saddha in accordance with the Buddha's method, Buddha's exposition, and also the teachings, instructions, guidance of the teachers. So with the loving kindness and compassion, the yogis are given these instructions, and if they are able to practice respectfully and carefully, they are bound to realize the benefit just like other people. And it is found that some people are able to report very clearly, both as old and young, men, women, among men, women, among lay people as well as monks. Some even have not, do not seem to have studied the theoretical book knowledge, theoretical aspect of the Dhamma. But these youngsters, though they are young, they are able to report very clearly, and it is in keeping with what is said in the literatures. It is very encouraging. So, in this regard, Sayadaw would like to say something from his own experience. Some 20 years ago, while Sayadaw was residing in the Mahasi Meditation Center, he was interviewing the yogis, and at that time there was one 9-year-old novice among the meditators, and according to this modern education, he is about the stage of primary education. He had not learned the Buddhist literatures, but he practiced meticulously in accordance with the teacher's instructions, respectfully, carefully. That was being his habit. And when he was able to report also very clearly how he noted and the object, and how his noting mind was concurrent, precise with the object noted. and how his mind became very pure, and then the mind did not go out, there was no distraction of the mind, and how the mind falls calm and collected on the object, and by so doing he was free of impurities, and how his mind was very pure, serene, and how he experienced deep delight, joy. So in this way, within this short time, he was able to be able to have this kind of experience and be able to report accordingly to the teacher, to him, to the Sayadaw. So how he also reported about this defilement of mind and body, the conditionality. But this is not from the book. This is not the book style expression. This is the expression was only from his common language, common usage, practical explanation, not the literary explanation. Like when, as he noted, heat appeared, he noted it passed away, and when he noted rising, he observed these sensations, qualities, individual qualities as stiffness, tension, movement, and when he noted falling, he observed these qualities such as relaxation and softness and things like that. And when he was lifting, moving, placing, he observed these sensations during this lifting, moving and placing. He was able to report the qualities which he observed beyond form and manners. So it is in accordance with the it's not the literary style of expression, reporting. It was reporting with common usage. And when he was noting the sensations, he was able to note very clearly. And when he noted his sensations rise and pass away in a very clear-cut manner, especially the stage of the fleeting momentary nature of experience, udyabhya jnana. And even what is wonderful is that he was able to report his experiences even when he was in his mother's womb. The gradual development of his embryo, and how he suffered in the mother's womb as the mother was eating something, abnormal things, or like hot things, or something like that, or cold things, or when the mother was moving about, how he suffered in the mother's womb. So he was able to report his experiences, the existential suffering from the conceptual stage. So what he reported was in accordance with the literatures, although his reporting was not literary, it was common usage, but it was in accordance with the books. Even those who have studied books would not be able to express this kind of experience systematically. So he was able to be fulfilled with this knowledge of the rising and passing away, and was able to realize this benefit in gain the satisfactory stage of realization. And there are young people like this boy, this novice, who are able to report very clearly. So although he was very young, he was able to practice this mindfulness during sitting, directing his attention to rising and falling with precise aiming and the application of energy. And when he was walking, he was instructed to just note lifting, moving and placing precisely with full force, with proper focusing and energy, like the game of marble. He was able to understand this game of marble, like as a child, as a as a boy, he was given this analogy of marble in noting. So every time he notes rising and falling with full force, with full energy and precision, steadying his attention to be able to connect with a rising object. And when he was asked, what did you find? So he just reported very honestly, simply. He said, first of all, he observed the abdomen, the form of the abdomen. And at times he observed the manner of rising and falling. But most of the time, as he was able to concentrate his mind, he was able to observe the qualities of this rising and falling in terms of sensations. So, although first of all he observed the form and manner, later, of course, form and manner is only a manifestation of one's concentration, level of concentration. And he was able to see the qualities, sensations going beyond form and manner. So, just as in accordance with this Vipassana maxim, or fixed rule, that only when you are moment will you see sabhava. Only when you are able to note at the moment of arising, of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and so on, will you be able to see the qualities, sabhava. In walking also, he was able to note this lifting, moving, and placing, and precisely. And he was able to report also how his mind wandered, and he was able to catch it, note it at once as soon as it wandered, and how when he was noting these sensations, he was able to see clearly these sensations, microscopically. And then about the unbearable sensations, how he was able to bear them. Then after some time, these unbearable sensations becomes bearable, so that they are very pleasant to note. It becomes a pleasant pain. So in this way, he was able to explain these things very systematically. And during sitting, noting rising and falling with full force, every second of the time without thinking. So this is what we all should do, not to just think that one has become degraded, by copying the example of the method of the youngster, but that for us to take the lesson and to encourage yourself to, when you hear such stories, it will be very inspiring for you, and be able to practice with full force whatever arises immediately, to note them and be able to observe them carefully and precisely. One should be able to follow this example and be encouraged. So with being inspired in this way, taking this example to practice, if one practices respectfully and carefully, one is bound to be fulfilled with these 5 limbs of striving and realize this udiyavya jnana, knowledge of the fleeting momentary nature of experience. If one continues to practice in this way, after this insight knowledge, one is bound to gain the benefit of path and fruition knowledge of the noble ones. This is assured. So to be inspired. So being inspired in this way, may we be able to practice respectfully and carefully, not to miss even a single object, every second of the practice, and with the realization of this insight knowledge, udiyavya jnana, and may we be able to realize the final benefit of path and fruition knowledge. That's all. Sadhu, sadhu.